Hey music nerds, fans, and maybe even bands. I'm Ivan, and welcome back to another Airplane Over the Teen YouTube video. Today, I wanted to look at one of my very favorite albums and just talk about its history, legacy, and why I love it. Obviously, there were so many albums that I could choose from, but there was one in particular that I really wanted to talk about, and I've been meaning to talk about this album for quite a while as well. This is an album that defied its genre and as a result helped define a new one. This was an album from an artist who had already redefined his genre several times for almost 15 years before this album even came out. That's right. Today we're talking about Miles Davis's 1970 jazz fusion classic, Bitches Brew. I don't want to talk too much about Miles Davis's work before Bitches Brew because this video would be several hours long, and I think other people have just done it better. If you have a couple hours to spare and want to learn more about Miles's discography, I'd heavily recommend checking out the two-part series that Deep Cuts has that just dives into Miles's discography. It's absolutely incredible. I do want to talk about the album Miles made before Bitches Brew, which would be In a Silent Way. That album, in my mind, kind of laid the groundwork for Bitches Brew with its long compositions and the inclusion of a lot of electric piano. Many of the musicians from the In a Silent Way sessions would accompany Miles on Bitches Brew. Those musicians would be Chick Corea, Joe Zawinul, Wayne Shorter, John McLaughlin, and Dave Holland. Miles had a very interesting way of arranging this album. He came up with basic chord structures for the band to play, but then he would give them what he called musical sketches. He said they could pretty much play whatever came to mind as long as it followed Miles's original chords. So basically, he let them do whatever they wanted to on this album, which would be quite risky for a band of rookie musicians, but for skilled musicians like the ones Miles was working on for this album, it worked absolutely beautifully. This album has a very crisp and vibrant sound. Every instrument adds a layer of complexity and fullness that makes every single aspect better in my eyes. The keyboards from Chick Corea, Joe Zawinul, and Larry Young are absolutely crucial to the album in my opinion. This album kind of puts you in this foggy and abstract landscape that you can't really escape until the album is over. On every track, the drums are giving an important backbeat, but they sound the best on here when they're absolutely just smashing and showing no mercy. Miles incorporates some aggressive playing into many of his parts, especially on the title track, but there's so much soul and depth in every single note. It's truly astounding. This album has a very improvisational quality to it, which makes sense because the musicians did improvise a lot, as I said earlier. I feel like it would be truly magical to sit in with the band while they were creating this. I can only imagine what it would be like. This album's style has been debated a little bit, and I can kind of see why. It definitely has elements of jazz fusion, but also avant-garde jazz, but it's not that easy to define. It's such an incredible album, and everything about it is just brilliant. My favorite song would probably be Spanish Key if I had to choose one, but I love every single track. I love the drums and saxophone on that track, and it feels like a good driving song. Sanctuary is a great closing track, aside from the bonus track on the re-release, that starts off relatively calm and then crescendos into absolute madness before ending the album. This album has gone on as one of Miles' most essential projects, and rightfully so. It's definitely more experimental than some of his other big albums like Kind of Blue, but comparing those two is like comparing A Hard Day's Night to Sgt. Pepper's. This album is definitely one of the most important landmarks in the whole jazz genre that I've heard at least, and if you've listened to it, I think you'd probably agree. Bitches Brew has become one of my all-time favorite albums. It's definitely my favorite jazz album. It's one of two jazz albums that I have as a 10 out of 10. The other one being A Love Supreme by John Coltrane. Miles and the gang made something truly extraordinary, and I think it should only be regarded as such. Thank you so much for watching. I really love making these videos, and I think it would be cool to do a series where I talk about some of my favorite albums. How about we call it an album spotlight or album showcase? I'll figure out the name. I really hope you enjoyed watching this as much as I loved making it. Same goes for all of my content. I really hope to see you in the next video, and until then, see ya!